is Gerald. Gerald,
Yeah.
The middle name is S.
Uh-huh.
And last name is capital L as in Larry, A as in Anna, N as in Nancy, and D as in Donald.
Land.
Land. Lots of land.
All right, so when you born?
April 14th, 1931.
31. And where you born?
In Long Island, and that's Bay Shore, at Southside Hospital. It's a big hospital. It's probably much bigger now because they added on, you know. But my mom and dad lived on Long Island in Smithtown, New York.
So what school did you
I went to Smithtown Branch High School.
And when did you graduate?
I did not graduate.
Oh.
Yeah, the draft came along and out I went. I got drafted.
So you were drafted. Do you remember when was you drafted?
Oh, I think in, let's see. I think it had to be 51 or close to 52. Yeah, because I arrived in Korea in 52, November. And, yeah, I think it was around 51 or 52.
Drafted.
Drafted, yes.
Did you know anything about Korea at the time?
No, nothing. We heard. I had a friend that I went to high school with. His name was Bill Carroll. And he was in the Marines. And he was in that company, Fox Company, that was wiped out in the Frozen Chosin Reservoir.
Yeah.
But he didn't die. He got wounded. And he says there was a lot of enemy. And we were cold, very, very cold. And guns were freezing. The guy's fingers were freezing. Everybody was freezing. Yeah. And he got shot. And he played dead. And he said he felt a bayonet go across his neck like this. And he just laid there. He didn't move. Because that's what they were doing. They were running over and they were bayoneting our guys. Yeah. And
but he survived.
Yeah, he survived. He woke up in a hospital ship. And he wanted to go back. He wanted to go back to his company. But he was wounded twice, and once you could go back. Twice, depended on the wounds. You know.
So he returned and told you about Korea?
Yeah. He told me, and I hadn't gone into the service at that time. He told me, don't get captured.
Where did you go to receive basic military training?
I went to Camp Brackenridge, Kentucky to receive 16 weeks of heavy weapons training.
Heavy weapons.
And they trained us on the 75 recoilless rifle, the 81 mortar, the 4.2, and the bazooka, Browning 50 machine gun, the water-cooled 30 machine gun, which Rhodes, way over there, the 30 caliber machine gun, the M1 rifle, and I spent 16 weeks there. We got there in May, and we didn't graduate until, let's see, May, June, July, August, September, around September, yes. From there...
So 52.
52, yes. So from there, we went home. We got a 30-day leave. And then I received my orders, which was the Far East Command. And my dad and my brother took me to LaGuardia Field. And I flew from LaGuardia to California.
What do you mean? You took the
Civilian, yes.
Civilian aircraft?
Yes.
How come? Did they pay you?
No.
Why did you?
No. Yes, they did. But at that time, they had to get. They didn't have the jets. They had propeller driven. We took I think it was one of the old C-47s they used for paratroopers.
Yeah.
We took off in a thunderstorm. And
so you didn't take the civilian aircraft, but military.
No, it wasn't military. It was civilian.
And that civilian was C-54?
No, it was a C-47.
C-47?
The old paratrooper planes.
I see.
Yeah.
I never heard about the Korean War veteran who took the flight, civilian flight,
Yes.
from LaGuardia to the California, because most of them either drove or take the train. I never heard about taking civilian airplane.
Yeah. My dad, I think, got the tickets for me.
But military paid that.
Yes. Yeah.
So where did you go from there?
We flew to Burbank, and then we had to fly from Burbank to Camp Stoneman in California.
You were Army, but you acted like, you took the series of airplanes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Burbank was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful there. Then we had to take a flight from Burbank to Camp Stoneman in California. And we had to stay there. And I'll tell you a little story about that one.
Right.
Yeah. We were there, and we decided we wanted to go off base, So me and these other two guys, we said, come on, let's take a chance. Let's take the bus. We'll get down to Frisco. Go see a titty joint,
What is that?
Well, girls.
Oh.
Yeah. So we go in this place, and we got a table, and we sitting down there. And all of a sudden, in comes these two MPs.
Uh-huh.
And I look at my buddy there, and he looks at me.
Were you in uniform?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we were. And he says, uh-oh. I think we're in deep. We're deep, yeah, I know. Don't say it. And they come over to us. Come on, fellas. Gotta go. Come on, Sarge. We're going to Korea. Give us a break, will you? I mean, we want to see some girls.
Yeah.
Not tonight, boys. Come on, let's go. I said to Sarge out there on the sidewalk, come on, give us a break. Put us on the bus. Promise we'll go back to base. Okay, being that you're going over there, we'll give you a break. But you got to get on the bus because I'm going to stand right here. Why'd you get on the bus? Okay, Sarge. Okay. We got on the bus, went back to camp. And from there, we got on the ship.
Finally, you are in the ship, not in the airplane.
Yeah, finally we got on the ship.
Uh-huh.
And it took us 14 days to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
We went to Yokohama, Japan.
Yeah.
And we were taking more soldiers on the ship. And I'm
from Japan.
From Japan. And I'm looking over the railing, and I see a guy I went to high school with down on the dock with an M1 strapped on his back, and I yelled to him. I said, Freddie Knapp. Hi, Jake. What the hell are you doing in an Army uniform? I thought you were in Air Force. Long story. Well, it comes to that. When he got on ship, he got up to me. We shook hands. He said that he was in the Air Force. And he had good rank. He was a mechanic. But he went AWOL with a Japanese girl for 30 days. And they caught up with him. And they brought him back to his base. And he had to go to trial, and they gave him two choices. One choice, the 40th Division, is going to Korea. The second is Leavenworth for 4 years. Now, if you want to, we're going to give you this privilege. You can go to Korea. If you make it out of there, everything's wiped clear. If you don't, well, that's it, you know. We'll bring you home on a box. Yeah. So he took 40th Division. Yep, so I think we had to go to, I think it was Camp Drake, Japan. We had to have a briefing on what to expect when we got there.
Tell me about that contents of the briefing. What did they tell you?
Well, they told us about this capturing, you know. They told us about this young fella, and he was there, that escaped. And the way he did it is he hid in a river, and he put the straw up underneath the water. He laid in the weeds underneath the water, and he breathed through the straw. He had to do that during the day. And at night, he'd get out of the water and start running. And these civilians found him and got him back to his regiment. He lost a lot of weight. When the U.S. Army guys picked him up at this civilian camp, he weighed 90 pounds. Yeah, he was very thin.
So where did you arrive in Korea?
In Incheon. But we had to anchor out in the bay because they can't go in. They could go in so far at high tide, and then they had to take us in on landing barges, and the barge could only go in so far. And then we had to get off the barge and walk in. And we had khakis on and combat boots. We didn't have any summer wear.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and they put us on trucks and took us up to Chuncheon.
Oh.
And there they issued us 2 pairs of long underwear, and let's see, they gave us a towel, and they gave us a bar of soap. Of course, it wasn't Ivory or Dove or anything like that. And a brush. And then they gave us pants, fatigues, and they gave us field jacket. And I think we got a pile liner. I'm not sure. They didn't give us any overcoats or anything like that. They gave us our M1s, a bandolier that had all the cartridges in it, and a helmet. And we had to get on these trucks, and they took us up to as far as they could. They couldn't go any further. They took us up to Heartbreak Ridge.
Oh.
And we had to get off and walk up. I remember walking up a hill. And we walked up to the line, and we had to report this black fellow who was a sergeant and the colonel, and he was looking at all of us. He says, "Where's the rest of you guys? You're looking at him. You're looking at us, sir." "Ah, I'm supposed to get 245 guys." One of the guys said, "Surprise." Oh my God. He's what happened to the rest of you guys? Well, they all went to Europe. You got the choice few. And he looks at me. He says, how old are you, son? 19, sir. 19? You don't look any older than 10. All right, you go with this sergeant here. So I was assigned to this Tennessee sergeant. And he found out that I was from New York. And those Southerners don't like New Yorkers. And he says, all the people in the U.S. Army, they got to give me a Yankee. Yeah. I said, yeah, you're stuck with me, Sarge.
Tell me about the typical day at the Heartbreak Ridge.
Typical day was cold, okay? And they issued us a case of sea rations. And I was assigned to the sergeant. He took me up to a bunker. The trench was 8 feet deep. You could walk in this trench. You had to duck a little bit. And the bunkers were protruding out. They were log bunkers, sandbag bunkers, with chicken wire across the front. So if the enemy threw a hand grenade or whatever, it would bounce off and go down the hill. And I was assigned to a Browning 50 machine gun with the sergeant.
Wasn't that heavy?
No, it was mounted. It was mounted in the bunker on this ledge. And it was sandbagged in because, you know, it was a heavy machine gun. And the gun kept jamming on us. It wouldn't fire. It would only fire single shots. We had to fire. Every other round was a tracer. So we have to line the gun up with the enemy across. Then we had to have armor piercing in there. Armor piercing, tracer, armor piercing, tracer. And then it jammed on us at night. We had trouble with the links. The links would jam the gun. If you recall that when B-17s flew over Korea, they had web belts because they had trouble with those Browning 50s too. So they switched to web belts instead of link. And we got gifted with the links. So we had to pull this gun out of the aperture, out of the hole. We had to clear it. We pulled it out, and we put it on the bunker floor. Now, no lights. You couldn't use a cigarette lighter or anything like that. It was all by feel. We had to take it apart. We did that in basic training. Took it apart, they put a blindfold on you. You took it apart and you put it back together again. That was a long time ago. And this sergeant, he did it. And I helped him. I took the parts. Give me that. This is the problem. He threw it away. What are you doing, Sarge? You don't throw nothing away. Don't worry about it. He put it back together again. Well, it worked. But the gun wouldn't stop firing.
So did you have many encounter with North Koreans or the Chinese?
Well, we
Did you
didn't.
actually.
They were mostly North Koreans.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really get into the Chinese yet.
Mm-hmm.
We had mostly North Koreans. But they would fire flares and light up the whole countryside, and they'd try to attack us at night, and we held them off. We had a lot of firepower up there.
Mm-hmm. So you engaged in that battle many
Yeah.
times?
Well, quite a few.
Tell me about it on the specific night that you remember specifically.
It was cold.
I know.
Very, very cold.
Was it early 1953, or are you still talking about December of 1952?
No, it was in December '52.
Mm-hmm.
Very cold, and they played Christmas carols. Then they had this girl on a PA system.
What do you mean PA system?
Well, a loudspeaker.
Okay.
And she'd be saying your girl back home would be going out with your best friend and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
you know. And, well, Christmas time was pretty bad. You know, it's tough, Christmas time.
Why?
Well, you know.
You want to be back home.
Yeah, you want to be back home, you know, and they're playing Christmas carols out there,
Yeah.
Christmas music.
It's a horrible time, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's a tough time, you know. And then, of course, New Year's, you know, it's all quiet. So a couple of the jokers on our side, they're playing all kinds of old-fashioned music, you know, and trying to get us homesick and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so one guy up there, he goes and he fires a couple of rounds, and another guy down below. Can I explain what it sounded like?
Yeah.
Bum ba da dum bum, bum bum, bum ba da dum bum. Then the patent tank down below, and the valley would go boom. Yeah, so that kind of lightened up the atmosphere a little bit. But it was very cold. And, you know, we didn't have the proper attire. And they came and brought us the Mickey Mouse boots.
Yeah.
Those boots were all right, but your feet would sweat in them. And then if you took your feet out, your feet would freeze. So there was no happy medium. You could wear the combat boots and your feet would be cold, or you take them off and put on the Mickey Mouse boots. I think December and January were the bad months up there. It kind of was towards like February, it was very cold, but then it started to warm up a little bit.
Did you have any specific encounter with North Korean soldiers, enemies?
Well, yes and no. My company commander took me and the sergeant off the gun. We had to go out to the outpost, and that was in Kumwa Valley. And we were out there for 3 days and 3 nights with no sleep. You didn't sleep out there. And we thought we heard them sneaking up on us. We had barbed wire stretched out in front of our gun emplacement with cans, C-ration cans, hooked up to it. And if they hit those C-ration cans, it would make a tinkle, tinkle. And sometimes the rats would be out there too, you know. And they tried to get up close, but when they hit the cans, they backed off. That was the closest encounter I had with a Chinese soldier.
Do you
or
remember
North Korean.
you killed North Korea?
Excuse me?
Do you remember the moment you ever killed North Koreans?
It was at night.
So you couldn't see it?
I couldn't see it.
You shoot a lot, right?
Yes.
You shot at them.
Yep. Yes, I did.
What does it feel like working on the machine gun when you're firing at them continuously?
Well, you know, it's a terrible feeling because you're killing another person, you know, and it's terrible, you know. They're out there and they're getting hit by these bullets that are tearing you to pieces, you know, and you wonder how they feel, you know. It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah.
I had a prayer book with me, and I had it in my pocket here, and I used to take it out. And,
You Christian there at the time?
well, I'm Methodist.
Uh-huh.
I used to talk to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I told him I want to ask for forgiveness of all the sins I did, and try to help me out, you know, keep me safe so I can go home. You know, I was scared. I was scared. I don't care. Everybody was scared up there. We were all young. We were kids.
Yeah.
We were all young, but we were trained. We were trained to kill. And we were told, they're going to kill you. So you got to get it in the back of your head. You got to kill him. You know, or whatever they were. You know, it's a hard war. War is hell, wherever it is. It's tough.
That it was hell and you were scared. And you said it's a war, right? But American president said it's a police action. Some say it's a conflict, right?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, we didn't have any time to think. We were there.
Now, what do you think about that?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, I think they should have told us when we were up there. Maybe they didn't want it because it would break our morale.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing they didn't want to happen.
No, it's a war. If it is a war, they should told you it's a war.
Yeah, it's a war.
Not police action.
Police action. We never heard it. We heard stories about that. Police action. Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you want to say to the politicians and the people who said that it's a forgotten war or
yeah, that's
Korean
terrible.
conflict? What do you want to say to them?
Yeah, that's terrible. A forgotten war. You know, people didn't even know that war was going on. I spoke to high school kids.
Yo, you're in the Working Tell America program?
No, I worked in a high school.
Oh, okay.
Okay. In my civilian life, I worked in a high school.
Mm.
And I used to talk to the social studies teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, well, we used to bring it up every once in a while. And I said to him, every once in a while, do you realize how many young people were killed in that war? No, I didn't realize. I said, well, maybe you ought to look it up, sir. We lost 56,000 young people.
Yeah.
Guys that had families. Some guys were 17, 16 years old. They lied about their age so they could go in and fight for their country.
Mm-hmm.
And then you tell them this gossip story about it being a police action.
Mm.
Can you imagine that? What would go on in your mind, sir? Yeah, you know, put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
How would you like it if somebody told you, hey, guess what? They're calling this a police action. And
They ask you, where have you been when you return to the home, right?
yeah. So, yeah, they were wondering where I was for 24 months. I was in the service, in the military.
Yeah.
I had to go to war. I had to go to Korea. A forgotten war, you know. And they couldn't get over that. I just told one of the gentlemen out here that, you know, when that really came up about that forgotten war, is this young fella that went to a high school in New Jersey, and he was a sports guy. He played all kinds of sports, everything. He was in every kind of, he got all kinds of medals and everything. He enlisted and he went in the Marine Corps. And he got killed in action in Korea. Nobody knew about this young fellow. I forget what his name was. It might have been Stillwell or something to do Stillweld or something like that. They came back to their high school and one of the kids said, oh my God, Sergeant Still, he went to our high school. And they got a big big monument and a plaque, and they put it in their showcase out in their high school hall. They had a big ceremony for him. They had all kinds of dignitaries there, and they put this high school on the map. And this one gentleman said, remember, this young fella was killed in the Forgotten War.
Yeah. When did you leave Korea?
I think 53 of September. We rotated. We went to Panmunjom first. We saw the prisoner exchange. And you know, it was a very upsetting thing to see. A lot of these fellas looked like patients from a hospital. They'd sit at a table and they'd be staring into emptiness.
How come did you go to the Panmunjom?
Well, that was our area to disembark at that time.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate that we got out of there alive. These poor devils. They were captured, and God knows what they did to them. Brainwashed them and tortured them and starved them, and you know, and it was upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our guys. You know, I'm sure that we didn't treat their people like that. Yeah, tough war.
And then you left Korea September 1953.
Yes.
So you were there when the armistice was signed.
Yes, I was.
Remember the day that it was signed?
No, not really. It was. I know they were very happy after, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody was happy.
You didn't know.
They kind of shuttled us out of there quick, like, you know. There was too many dignitaries there and camera people, and they put us on a truck and said, "Come on, guys, we got to go."
What was the most difficult thing during your service?
Well, I think enduring that cold. So I was born on Long Island. We used to have cold winters, very cold winters, you know. And I did a lot of outside work. I used to shovel snow for the town, and I always worked outside. And I worked landscaping in the summer and digging trees and shoveling snow in the winter. You know, and it was tough. Went to high school and didn't stay there long. You know.
But it was colder than that?
Yep. Korea was colder than Long Island. I met a fella from North Dakota, and he says, "You know, I've been cold, but damn, this place is colder than North Dakota," and I thought that was the coldest damn place in the world. Yeah, oh, Jesus.
You know that now Korea and the United States celebrating 60 years anniversary of the alliance, military alliance.
Yes.
And we have a free trade agreement. The relationship can be any better than this. What do you think about this? You know Korea, what happened after you left, right? The economy and democracy.
Yeah, it all built up.
Yeah. What do you think about those? And what do you think about your service for the Korean nation?
Well, I feel that we did something for them. We got them their freedom, and they built up their cities. They're living nice, and it was nice to see them getting something that we fought for and helped them build up their country, you know. They gave them freedom, and that they don't have to worry about being under communist rule. Mm-hmm. And I felt bad for the civilians, because civilians are the ones that suffer. They suffer the wars. They have to go through all this. We had to fight around them, and they kept on raising their rice paddies, or doing their jobs and taking care of their kids, and finally living a halfway decent life. And we built a high school over there for them. The 40th Division did.
Uh-huh.
We built a high school, and they have a university there now, and they have football team, and they have bands. In fact, I think they were at the Tattoo in Norfolk recently.
Oh, really?
They had a drum corps there, and they were very good. Yeah.
They came here?
I think they did, yeah. I think they did. I'm sure I read that. I know they do get involved with drum and bugle corps. They're very talented, They're very smart kids.
What do you want to say to the young generation in America about your experience and about about the war?
Well, don't take everything for granted. Don't go to mom and pop after you get out of high school and you can't make it. You got to buckle down, get a job, and don't ask for the top pay. Earn it. I had to earn it. And all these gadgets you got today, we didn't have that. We didn't have anything like that. The only reason my dad and mom got a telephone in the house was because of me. I joined the fire department, and I had to have a telephone in case they wanted to get a hold of me. And I went to work, and I think every kid today, instead of standing there and wanting it handed to them and hand in fist, and go out and earn it. Help them out. Help mom and pop out. Don't go home and live with them. And live off them. Get off your butt and go to college. Go to school. Get an education. Get off the street corner with a piece of paper. I'm homeless. That don't go with me. If you can work, you got 2 hands and 2 feet. Get out and go to work.
Any other message that you anything that you want to say about your experience in Korea, your combat experience, anything that you didn't say so far?
Well, I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud I went to war, and I'm proud that I did my part for my country. And I love my country. And I hope we don't have to go to any more wars with North Korea. And I like to see everybody, all the guys in Afghanistan, come home. There's too many young fellas over there getting killed and coming home with no arms and legs. And they're just beginning to live and they have no arms and legs. I'd like to see that war ended quick and our guys come home. And that's about all I have to say.
Gerald, thank you so much for your fight and sacrifice. Because of that, there is a Korea now, and our democracy and economy is strong. So I want to thank you on behalf of Korean nation. Okay.
Thank you.
And I want to present this certificate of Ambassador for Peace, which was made by the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, and also Korean Veterans Association. I wrote your name in Korean, Gerald Land.
Okay.
Around your chin. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So,
my wife will like that.
yeah, Gerald, thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the interview.